Welcome back to this Figma series. So we've talked about groups, we've also talked about frames from the two previous episodes, and then now today we're going to talk about components. Components are vital in Figma, but in order for you to really realize when would we actually want to use these, I'm going to show you a use case where your life is going to become significantly worse if you choose not to use components. And then afterwards, I'll show you how you can make your life that much easier by using components and talk about the different benefits of using them. So in this use case, we're going to build it off what we did previously, where we have this frame that's our home page, and then we have this button. But for this example, we're going to focus it on a website that's kind of like an Amazon style website where you go online to buy different products. And so here I've just added some basic rectangles to signify a picture of an item. And then below that, we just want to have buttons that say buy now. So if you see an item you like, you can just go below and click buy now, right? So pretty simple. And you can imagine how would we fill in the rest of this design so that every single item or every single picture has a button that says buy now with it. You'd probably think you just click on the group, that button that you made, and then do Control C, right? And then just paste and then move it over like so. Get it nice and lined up. And then do the same thing one more time for this other one. And you're like, okay, we're doing great, right? But let's say that you're on an actual team and your marketing team has done some research and now they found out that buy now is actually not great verbiage, but it would be better if the button said purchase now. Users respond a lot better to that and they end up buying the product a lot more often if it says purchase now, right? So now as a designer, your job is to change it to reflect the new design of what the website should be. So you go in, right, and you go ahead and change it so it says purchase now. And you're already seeing some weird sizing stuff, right? Now purchase is a much bigger word. It's not really flowing the way we want. We might have to turn down the sizing. It's a little too small. Let's like put in like 30. Okay, that looks great. Okay, cool. We're liking that. And so it was a little bit of a hassle to just change the one, right? And then now we're going to have to do the same thing for every single other one. Change it to purchase now, and then we'll have to make sure it's centered, maybe change the font size too. And it's just kind of a pain, you know? Here we only have 3 different items, but you can imagine on a normal search page like Amazon, you're going to have dozens, maybe even hundreds of items, and you don't want to have to, fix every single button individually. Wouldn't it be nice if there was some sort of template or blueprint that basically said, hey, this is how I want all my different buttons to look like? On this page, I want all my different buttons to say purchase now, and I want them to be centered and look just right, And then that's only for making one change of just changing this to say purchase now. What if you go through and you make all those changes and you're like, okay, sweet, that was a huge hassle, but it's done. And now the marketing team comes back and they're like, also, we've had more success if you change this button from gray to a green color, right? So then you'd have to go in and do the same thing, change it to this green color, and then you'd have to replicate that across every single item again. And it's just this huge issue, right? Because with design, something we have to do is iterate on our designs and make those changes. And we want to make that as simple as possible, so it's not a huge headache. So as you can see, groups, they can work for you in this regard, but components are a much better use case for this. So let me go ahead and demo for you what the workaround would be. I'll go ahead and kind of set things up how they were when we started, where we just had that one button. So yeah, we want to do it this time using components. And if you remember, I said, wouldn't it be nice if there was almost like a template or a blueprint from which we could base every single button off of? Almost like when you're making a house, right? Wouldn't it be nice if before you make your house, before you buy all those resources and try to set everything up, if you could just lay out on paper what it should look like, so that way you know what it should look like for every single one? And this blueprint, it can just kind of be off to the side that we can use as a reference point. Wouldn't that be nice? Well, we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to make a sort of blueprint or a template to base everything off of. And like a blueprint on a house, we're also just going to want to keep this off the side. We won't want to use it directly, but it'll be almost like a reference point for whenever we want to make elements, or in this case, buttons like it. And so if we want to make a component, what I'm calling like these templates or blueprints, all we have to do in Figma is just right click on it and then go down and hit create component, just like that. And you'll notice here it changed from having a blue border and the text up here to now have a purple text. And you'll notice it has the 4 diamonds that are filled in. That's to represent that this is like the main one. This is the main template that we're basing all of our other buttons off of. And we can go in and we can even change the button to say, we'll just call it purchase button because that's ultimately what it's going to do, right? And so here we go in, and this is like very first thing, you know, we're starting it out as if we had just barely made the website before all the market research had been done, right? And so we wanted to build it out that way. Now you'll notice if I go here, switch from layers to assets, now I can see this cool view of all the different components that I've made. And here you'll notice I did make this one called Buy Now that I can literally just take and I can drag into my website, just like so. And I want to do that 3 times for each different image and item. Okay. Excellent. Yeah, so it's looking good, right? We're excited. And what's cool about this, what you're going to see, is now, theoretically, because we've chosen to use components, when the marketing team goes and does research and says, oh, actually this buy now button, it would be much better if it said purchase now. All we have to do, instead of changing each one individually, we can go up to this component, the one that's like a template or blueprint that everything else is based off of, and we can change that one. And watch what happens below. That's right, every other component below is basing it off how this template one looks. And so if we change the size, we'll put it on that 30 that we liked. Excellent, that's looking great, right? Just make sure that's centered. Okay, sweet. And like we mentioned, you know, here below, purchase now, it's saying that across the board. All we had to do was change the 1. And then we're like, okay, sweet, that was super easy, you know, that wasn't even a heartache at all. And then now the marketing team comes back a few weeks later and says, oh, also, by the way, can you change every single button to be a light green? Because we found that users often buy the product, you know, 15% more if it's a light green button versus a gray button. So then you can just go in here, and then here, once again, we have this template or the component selected. And we just go in and we find a light green, right? It's kind of ugly, but we'll leave it for now. And you'll notice, once again, across the board, it has changed in every single component. So as you can see, just to kind of wrap up, if we tried to use groups to solve this problem of reusing the same sort of item or same sort of element over and over, we're going to run into issues, especially as we try to change our designs later. However, if we can be smart from the start and use components whenever we're going to reuse something, then if we ever want to change them down the road, it's super easy because we only have to change this template from which everything else is based. Hopefully that made a lot of sense as to why you would want to use components over groups, and let me know if you have any other questions. Thanks for watching.